First, let me welcome in a voice that has been a continuing presence on the station forever, and that is, of course, the utility man. You hear him everywhere. And, of course, he's a staple on Saturday morning, and that is, I think, the guy who's probably the most underrated voice on the station and doesn't get enough credit for the work he does, and that's Richard Neer. Richard, welcome. How are you?
Well, thank you, Michael. That's very nice of you to say.
I think it's true. I think you've been doing Saturday morning, which is a very popular show for a very long time, and, well, you know, you're basically all over the place whenever anybody needs you. So you've been a fixture on the station for a long time.
24 years, actually, this week.
That is remarkable. Now, I remember, Richard, before fans started, listening to you do sports talk. I was listening to those 3 competing sports talk stations at times before FAN ever got on the air. There were 3 shows in New York at the same time, and you had one of them.
That's right. The Fan actually killed us. We were doing the Sports Connection on WNEW-AM, the legendary 1130.
Right.
And a guy by the name of Mike Kakianis was the general manager, and he put me on the air. And I produced the show along with Rick Cerrone, the longtime PR guy for the Yankees. And it was a different kind of talk show. It was not a call-in show. It was interviews. It was games. It was long-term stuff. We did 45-minute interviews with Mickey Mantle and Joe Namath. So it was very different than what transpired on The Fan.
You know, you were a veteran radio guy. You go back to the halcyon days of WNEW-FM. When you heard about all sports talk, what'd you think?
Well, I thought it could work. I mean, I've been a sports fan my entire life. In fact, I started in radio doing sports before I turned over to music. So I thought it was a terrific idea. I think I was in a minority there. I heard Jeff Smullian on your show at the top saying that most people were naysayers. But, you know, Mike, the big thing about this station, you might realize I work for Talkers Radio as well. That's the Bible of the sports talk industry.
Sure.
And you're going to be hearing from him in a couple of weeks, by the way.
Okay.
A little hint, hint. But bottom line is, this station is called The Fan because we take phone calls. You wouldn't believe how many radio stations and talk show hosts in our genre don't take phone calls. They think they have to monologue, they have to have guests, they have to do comedy bits. It's very, very few phone calls. And really, the fans are the lifeblood of our radio station. We have guests, we have interviews, we do monologues, of course, but without the fans, where would we be?
I totally agree, and at least on most of our shows, I mean, the fans have pretty free reign. We don't, at least I've never, and I've done this for 25 years, I've never in any way monitored the calls in any way. We don't ever turn them away. We don't ever ask what they're talking about. We just put them up and away we go. So I think that's what makes it, the spontaneity, I think, is what makes it work.
And one other quick point, if I might, I have to give credit. It's going to sound like brown-nosing, but management has allowed us. I never hear, oh, you shouldn't rip the Mets like that from Mark Chernoff.
That has never happened here. It really hasn't.
Never hit the Yankees. Don't say this. That's not fair. They give us free reign. And
that is true.
We're wrong a lot, but we're right a lot too. And we never fear that somebody upstairs is going to say, well, you know, the Mets are on your station. You shouldn't do that.
You're right. You'll hear Richard. He will be part of this weekend coming up on Sunday, which is going to be a day of all classic shows. Richard will be on from 5 to 6. So, Richard, you should be cited for your work through these many years. You've been a big asset to the station and continued success. Thank you.
No one bigger than you, Mike.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. And Richard, tomorrow, 5 to 6. Now, before I get to Mink and